I'm down here at beautiful Centennial Park. This is a traditional home of skiff sailing. You'll see a number of pictures available on the net which shows people in the early 1900s sailing the skiffs here. There's a series of 5 or 6 lakes in here, and although I've run around this park hundreds if not thousands of times and cycled and walked around it just as many times, I've never been able to associate any of the pictures with any other landmarks that are still in the area. Anyway, what I'm down here for is to show you people this skiff here. This skiff's called Rangatira, and it's a 2-foot dugout type skiff. I'll walk around it so you can get a better look at it. This has got probably what would be considered to be a sail of 3/4 height. There would have been 4 or 5 sails in this kit, and I decided to make the sail this size simply because where I was living at the time, this afforded me the best viewing position. Anyway, as I said, I bought this skiff some time ago, and well, in fact it's probably the first skiff I ever bought. I remember turning down some other skiffs that I saw in the years before I bought this because there was some minor issue about the skiff that I didn't like. It took me a while to realise that these boats were just made to sail and to win races. They didn't care what they were made out of so much or any other thing, and I'm sure they didn't think that there were going to be any fools racing around trying to buy these in years to come. This here, I would say, has been built by an actual boat builder. It's constructed of hewn pine, what I believe to be maple or another Australian hardwood, cedar and plywood. I remember I nearly didn't buy this boat because it had a plywood deck. When I think about that now, I almost kick myself. I remember there was a couple of other 12-inch boats I could have bought before this one, but I turned one down because it was hewn pine, one down because I didn't like the shape, and God knows what I didn't like about the other one. All of them I should have bought, they were all cheap. Anyway, this is in pretty much original condition. You can see the original name there. I'd say this would be owned by a New Zealander with a name like that. I've never been able to find out too much about it. As you can see, a lot of these dugout type hulls you'll find are made out of a 6-inch thick block, and then they'll glue a piece on the top of it like this. There were obviously standard sizes even back in the early 1900s, so the major part of this hull is hewn pine, where down the bottom here I believe it's maple or some other Australian hardwood of the same genus, and up the top here they've glued this little bit of cedar on around the top to give them the height. Now, this had a couple of issues with it when I got it, namely it had been dropped on the corners, and these corners gave me quite a bit of grief trying to fix, and I'd say most people would consider me a master timber worker. Remember there was another little piece just at the front here that caused me a lot of problems too. It had been dropped just here, and it took me a while to steam and iron out the plywood and then reconstruct the timber underneath. As you can see, it's got crude but very beautiful pinstriping that runs around this. And I'm not quite sure, you can see on this side how it has made up of several pieces of cedar, and going around the front here. Now the fittings on this are aluminium, which is rare in itself, and just before I got it, I believe there was talk of removing all these fittings and putting brass ones on. Well, I told the antique dealer that I heard had it at the time that I wouldn't be interested in it if anything was changed, and convinced him to sell it to me at a hugely exorbitant price at the time. Anyway, the rudder was missing, as they generally are, and I had to manufacture all that. Next time I actually display this boat, I'll dull down the shine on that rudder a bit and match it back into the rest of the colouring. Now, contrary to popular belief, a lot of these boats aren't built perfectly. Like some of them, like this one here, are beautifully crafted. When it was made brand new, this would have been absolutely top class. But there's others I've come across that things aren't in the middle, and there's all sorts of little idiosyncrasies and quirks in them. That's actually one of the things that make these quite interesting and enjoyable to look at and collect. Now, I'll go back onto the sail here. I get all my sails done by Dennis McGugan, and he and his family have been involved in this sport for a considerable amount of time, probably nearly since it began. That bowsprit I've made there is a little bit of pretentious knobbery by myself. When I got a bit active when I was building it, it would never have been made like that, because that'd snap like in about 20 seconds if this was actually raced. Since this is never going to be raced again, I figured, well, what does it matter? This little toggle here is a thing Dennis showed me. It's a special little toggle they made to lock the rope in the correct place. If anyone's interested, I can supply them a plan for that little piece. Geez, it looks like I'm nearly out of battery. This is a rudder that I made some time ago. I'll show you the keel in greater detail. These are the clips that hold it onto the runner, and that's the weight. Now this weighs about 7 kilos. There's a few different shapes, and just like with boats, there's nice shapes and there's not so nice shapes. I think this hull here would have to be considered in the top echelon of these particular hulls. Just trying to think of what else we could have a look at while we're doing this. I may as well keep filming until my battery runs out. Another interesting thing about this hull is I stuck a micro camber down the masthead when I pulled it out when I was conserving it, and it seems to have been lined with canvas on the inside of the hull as a way of waterproofing it. Now I'd stick a camera down the hulls of most boats I have, unless I actually take the actual deck off. So this is the first time I'd ever seen that. I actually have made another one of these out of hewn pine, and with bird's eye hewn pine highlights to actually sail. I've changed the hull at the front a little bit, but it's essentially the same boat. I could never sail this, as if I lost it I'd be devastated. If I lose the other one I made, I'd be upset, but that's life, and I'm sure a few of these have been lost over the years. Anyway, I hope this shows this in a little detail. I'll show the wall mounting bracket that Alan made for me, and I think that's about it for this hull. I thought I'd take a quick shot of the underneath of the hull. And here's the keel over here, if anybody wants better detail on that. Just in case anybody's interested, it's about 630 long, and this here is the bracket that my friend Alan made for it. Way over engineered. As you can see, I've never used the bracket, or all these boats are just piled up in a room in my house. It's a terrible shame, but anyway. Oh, this here is a bag I keep all my sails in. I got many of them, so I get a bag made up for each one, and I put a tag on it as to what it is for. I'll quickly get a measurement for anyone who's interested of the rudder. I'll find out where I chuck my tape measure, which is right here. This is just to give anybody who's interested a perspective on how big these rudders should be. You can see the measurement there, I presume. So they're actually quite big in relation to the hull. I'll just show a couple of bits where I had to repair it. There was an issue there. This corner was a little bit of an issue. Probably needs a little bit more colouring on that after all this time. I remember that aluminium skirt gave me untold grief trying to put it back on. And another thing I learned while I was doing this boat was how to age aluminium. If anybody's interested in knowing how you can change a nice shiny bit of aluminium to look like that in about 20 seconds, let me know, and I'll give you the info you require I'll just show this in better detail. You can see how this is laminated here, and chances are this has all been glued together, these joints here, with hide or animal glue, whatever you want to call it. And you can see most of the joints are as tight as they ever were. I'd say that cracking and distortion there is due to the moisture level changing in the timber and drying out. It's not from anything more than that. It really is a spectacular hull, this one. Yeah, a true delight. Anyway, I can't think of any way I could show you this particular hull in better conditions, and I am absolutely amazed that it hasn't rained on me. It's been raining for 5 days here in Sydney, which, well, you can see the water level in that lake there. It's as high as I've ever seen it. Anyway, I'll try and get some more pictures of other boats and hulls up soon. See you later.